Hey everyone, it's Dr. Rick, and I wanted to make sure that you're all making the transition well. For those of you who don't watch my videos on a regular basis, this might come as a shock, but I have left the building. I have left Advocate Medical Group in Bartlett. So a lot of you met me through Advocate Medical Group, but there's also a lot of subscribers that don't follow me in that office and just follow me online. And regardless, I am here to practice medicine and make sure you guys, subscribers and patients and friends and family, survive. Because I'm not going to get into why I left, but I feel that if you rely on Western medicine and insurance-based visits, you're going to fall short. I think within the paradigm of Western medicine and insurance, and it is supposed to be just in case you get sick. Insurance is supposed to be insurance to make sure that you don't go bankrupt in case you get sick. It's not to be, I rely on this only. So please, even if your doctor gives you a clean bill of health, push harder. If your weight isn't great, push that weight away. If you're fatigued, develop an exercise routine. If you're depressed, find a coach, find a psychologist, find a good behavioral health center. But regardless, if your body's telling you that and you look in the mirror and say, there's something that I wish I had before, make it happen. And if you can't figure out how to make it happen, you can access me in my office here. This is Hoffman Estates, or my other office in Bartlett. Now, it has come to my attention that a lot of my patients, my ex-patients, and listen, you will always be my patients in my heart, because I'm very proud of a lot of my warriors. And most of my patients that were able to listen and deal with my running a little bit behind or a lot behind, you know that I invest 110% to make sure that you understand what's going on with you. You understand my plan. You have a plan and you have a choice. And then we make sure that it's a plan that sustains you. If it doesn't sustain you, then I have to rework the plan. That's the beauty of having a coach that's all in. Now, unfortunately, I don't feel that a lot of my colleagues are coaches, and I'm not here to call out my colleagues, but I'm here to tell you what you have options for, and you always have a choice. So even if you're told that you have a narrowed artery over here, or you have a precancer, or you have a high blood pressure and cholesterol, even if you have those things, there's always a way to reverse them. Even cancer, there's a way to reverse it. So whether you want to call things miracles or just fine-tuning of this miracle that we have here and allowing this machinery to work properly, it's your choice. But I would always say there's hope. And I believe in my patients, and that's why I think my patients do better than the average. So if you stick with insurance, then I honor that, but always look past that. Ask and challenge your doctors. Maybe you can teach them a thing or two. But what I found concerning was my wife is registered as my patient, and we got a letter from Advocate saying that I left, and there's two doctors here, and I know these docs, both family practice, and they're giving options for you to call the other doctors. Hopefully you all got a form letter too. They're giving options to call the other doctors to continue care. And in continuing care, that usually means for those of you who take prescription medicines, continuing your prescription refills. Now, here's the problem that I see. I'm hearing that one patient went to Central DuPage Hospital and immediately got into tiff with regards to how they're going to bill, how is Central DuPage Hospital going to bill the visit, wellness exam or establishment as a patient. And I would say they're both one and the same. If you're going to have a wellness exam for the first timers, you have to divulge all your previous medical problems. So, I mean, that's a wellness exam. I know there's criteria in Medicare as far as guidelines for wellness exam, but really it's arbitrary to what the doctor feels they can fit in the visit within the guidelines of the insurance business. So already you have a doctor that's tied in or handcuffed to the insurance. So if the doctor says, well, I can only do this, you already have a doctor that's shortcutting your care. Sorry, doctors, my colleagues are going to probably be pissed off, but patients, you have to understand this. So when you have a letter that says you have a certain amount of time to see another doctor, make an appointment, and you guys know, and most people know, if you're going to try to get into a primary care doctor's office for a first appointment, they're usually 6 to 8 weeks booked up. I have a patient that doesn't have an option to see anybody until January, and that's unacceptable. So I'm hoping that that's false, but let me tell you on the doctor's side. When about 2 years ago, when one of the other doctors left or was sick at Advocate, I had no problems with having all of his patients come into my office, because what are they going to do? We can't send everybody to the immediate care center, so I refilled a lot of the medicines for him. I even got to the point where I was so busy that I just refilled them all over the phone. I just told the staff, go ahead and refill. Now, the problem was this doctor did a lot of oncology, so he had a lot of chronic pain patients, and they were on narcotics. And this was just at the time that the opioid crisis was hitting its peak. But I still would honor that, because you can't just have somebody go to the emergency room and get cut off of the narcotics. You have to wean them properly. And even if it took 1 or 2 visits to get them in where I could understand what's going on, I still gave refills because I thought it was my duty. Being an Advocate employee and a doctor, I thought it was my duty while my colleague was sick and out of his practice. I didn't question that. So I think that if it were me, I have done it, but I would expect that the other takeover doctors would refill your prescriptions. So that's what I would expect. I have done it for my colleagues. I have done it for his patients without question. Maybe I was wrong with doing that, but it's the right thing to do. So, and here's where the dilemma comes. The morals of saying what's right as being a healer and the politics of doing what's right in the books. Obviously, I'm not going to do anything illegal. I will not do anything illegal, which is why I came over to Hoffman Estates to do medical cannabis, because in the guise of being an Advocate doctor, they don't really have there's a fine line, and medical cannabis is booming now, and it's very useful, but it's not within the bylaws. It's probably going to be worked in, but I came over here to do that, and consequently, it caused a rift. So I did what was politically correct, and I did what was morally correct, and it put me on this journey, which is a fine journey. I mean, I will continue to impact my communities to 110%. In fact, since I left about a month and a couple days, I've had this profuse amount of ideas and problem solving. I've actually developed, since then, I've started my book. I've opened up my talents as a coach and personal trainer at the Endorphin Effect, which I'll show you in a second. And I've also come up with a product for medical cannabis that I thought was missing in the dispensaries, and I'm creating it. So we're about to put a patent on it. I'm working with 4 other individuals. If it works out well, which I think it will, that will sustain me while I continue to find other ways to help you. And listen, I started medicine 25 years ago. I immediately signed on as an employee because I thought it was the right thing to do. Just too arduous a process to start my own practice. I was subspecialized in family medicine and sports medicine and acupuncture, but I thought I can do better because the hospital promised. I can do better if you guys take care of the billing, you guys take care of the staffing, let me just do my thing. And I thought that was a good deal, but it's not really always a good deal, because you will always have to answer to the insurance, a non-doctor, and this is where my plight is. And since I unleashed my handcuffs, I've been able to see so much. I actually take care of, since COVID came, I started taking care of people internationally. And apparently this insurance business thing is not only with democratic society in the United States, but it's also with other socialized medicine countries. And everybody is shortcutted on their visit with their doctor. And the doctors are stressed out as well, too, because they have to work within this little window of time. And you can't tease out the proper ideas about fixing somebody when you're already under the gun. That's a stress response, and you're supposed to be opening up to rest and rebuild response. How do you cannot be in the two worlds at the same time. So if you're stress response and you're narrow focused, you're going to get through the life fast, you're going to get through your hours fast, and you're going to think fast. Think fast means algorithm. Algorithm is usually going to be prescription. Thinking in rest and relaxation are the parasympathetic system, and I don't mean to waste your time, but you have to understand this. You can be creative, you can be problem solving, you can turn on neural networks that usually will be turned off when you're in stress response. And you can come up with better ideas, deeper understanding of who's with you in the room will give you higher success rates versus algorithmic care. I think algorithmic care works for the masses, but if the masses are really sick, you can't continue that. And there's something called the ecological fallacy. When you apply algorithms for the masses to the individual, that doesn't pertain to the individual. You pigeonhole that individual to have an outcome like the masses. And the masses usually are on 3 to 5 different medicines at the age of 50, and then more every decade after that. So, you guys know that from all my videos from the past. Check them out if you're just finding me for the first time. Hopefully this can help you. If you're a doctor that's also on the edge of going crazy, listen, we have to have longitudinal, especially my primary care colleagues, you have to have longitudinal learning. You can't just rely on board certification and learning the same thing over and over again. Fine. If you have newer drugs and maybe newer protocols like the JNC8 and JNC9, the JNC7, the JNC20, there's always going to be newer protocols because disease manifests and continues unless you take care of the root cause. But the only way to take care of the root cause is to spend time. And again, that's a dichotomy. Being truncated with time and spending time, it doesn't seem like it would work. But I would, my colleagues that are watching, if you invest in your CMEs and take on a little course in functional medicine, that's the shortcut way to do it, or a big course in integrative medicine. There are many of them out there. I went to the Arizona Center of Integrative Medicine. I actually was invited. I was hemming and hawing for about a decade and a half, and then I was invited for some reason. I forget why, and I said, you know what, I got to do it. And it just so happened that was the year my mom developed pancreatic cancer, and I knew enough. It worked well for her because I was able to have her die with dignity. So the universe works in mysterious ways, and I think that we're all interconnected, but we don't have to get into the touchy-feely part. However, keep on going with longitudinal learning. Don't just stop at what we learned in residency and board exams. Board exams are now, every 7 to 10 years. So if you wait for 10 years to re-up your knowledge base, you're behind the times, because the guys that are coming out now either have something over you or they have more energy than you. So we all aren't in competition with each other. We have to be in competition with time. And that's where the dichotomy, again, is going to be a problem. But for my patients, I would say challenge your doctors. Ask if you can have a refill and speak to office managers. I'm not trying to overload the system at Advocate, but I did it for my colleague that was sick. I had no questions. I just refilled. Was that the wrong thing to do? No. I think that you can take time and understand a patient's database and review the database and say, I understand, and my colleague is out, and I think it's fair. Let's go ahead and refill until a fair time when I can fit this guy in, learn this patient, have him become my true patient, maybe win him over, which I did. I won over a lot of patients from my guy who is sick. I hope I don't know, I think he retired, but, again, when people get to taste success, because I spend a couple extra minutes in the office trying to come up with a personal plan, and I spend a couple extra years of my own learning, I think you'll have a successful patient. And I'm not doing it just for likes on Facebook or Google. I'm doing it because I want survivability. And even if you get somebody to survive with 5 different medicines, but they're suffering, that's extending lifespan, but it's decreasing health span. If you live till 100 on a ventilator, what kind of life is that? if you live till 100 and you're independent, no prescription medicines, doing great, exercising, taking care of your great-great-grandkids, writing books, I think that's the way to go. And it's a shame that we don't really see that, except for Loma Linda, California. But so I've already spoken about what I would do. I would challenge a doctor, or I'd maybe increase the scope of the area that you're looking for a new doctor, and see, maybe there's going to be somebody who's looking for you. There's going to be a new doctor somewhere that's going to be hungry. Now, whether that doctor is good or not, usually the new doctors that come out can spend more time because they have a contract. In a contract, doesn't matter how many patients you see all day, you have a fixed amount of salary that you're protected with in the first 3 years, 2 to 3 years of signing on with a big hospital. So that's always the nice thing, is that when you have a paycheck that's guaranteed, that's cool. You can take your time and just hang out, but I don't think anybody does that. Or you can kind of learn your craft and learn how to apply it. So the new guys that are coming out, they might be fresh, but they'll have more time for you. And they might be able to learn who you are. And even if they're fresh with knowledge, they've passed their board probably, so they have a good fund of knowledge, basic knowledge. But if they know who you are, they can learn you, and you can teach them, at least what I used to teach you guys. So the other option is, in my office in Bartlett, it's more of a life coach office. It's the Endorphin Effect Training Center. So I've always wanted to be an athlete. I'm still an athlete. Those of you who go with me on excursions, I get people to go to 14,000 feet. Well, I went to 14,000 feet. I'm going to get people to go to 14,000 feet in July of 2021. So subscribe to me and you'll see how that happens. Maybe you can join me. But I'm very comfortable with teaching. I'm teaching yoga, I teach mindfulness practice and meditation, I teach how to work out in the gym, I teach HIIT training, I teach running, I teach hiking. So I take care of injuries. So I am very comfortable with that portion, and if you happen to lose weight, fantastic, and most people do lose weight. So in theory, I am running a weight loss clinic over there at the Endorphin Effect Training Center. And guess what? The IRS allows you, if you have a high deductible insurance, the IRS allows you to take a health savings plan or a health savings account and also a flexible spending account and use it for certain things. Usually it's supposed to be for high deductible insurance plans, and I think most people are high deductible. That's $2,500 to $5,000 per year, and if you hit that, everything after that is paid for by insurance. But most people in large corporations are offered HSA or FSA, and even if you haven't contributed to it, you still have 3 months to contribute. And if you do contribute a little bit, it's tax-free, number one. Number two, you can get my services paid for. So at the Endorphin Effect Training Center, because in what I do over there, I get you on the mat, I get you in the office, I get you in the yoga studio, I get you in the weights, I get you on the trail, I get you to the point where I fix your nutrition, I teach you mindfulness practice, I move you without injury, and I push you to success. So as most of you know, I don't need a prescription to do that. I can do that with supplements. I've done it with supplements. I can do it with acupuncture, and that's the other thing I'll do over there. So all that stuff, if it results in weight loss, which it always does, you can pay for it with your HSA. That's what the government says. So you can look it up yourself. It's publication 502. So that's publication 502. This thing is thick. Don't print it up. Just read it, and you'll see what your rights are. So if you already have an HSA or an FSA, even if you emptied it out, you can still contribute to it, and everything you contribute will be tax-free, and you can use it to. Now, I'm not an accountant, but for the most part, if you go through this a weight loss program is one of the things you can use your credit card with, the credit card that is tied in with the HSA or FSA. And if you wanted to, so those are the details. These are 2019 publications. There's also the publication 969 that lists from the irs.gov. This lists everything that is covered in detail. And it does not require a doctor's signature, but there are some insurance companies you might have to get the permission from Human Resources, depending on your company that you work for, to get a doctor, your primary care doctor or your oncologist or your specialist signature saying that what I do at the Endorphin Effect Training Center is a medical necessity. So I have a form that I've printed up in case some of my old patients want to bring my form to their doctor, but the doctors are still apprehensive because they don't know what to do. I put a bunch of verbiage, essentially what the IRS wants to have, and I do all this stuff in the training center, and I have good success rates. For those of you who have already signed my summit boards, I've got a bunch of summit boards. I think I was up to 6 big boards where people would sign when they would make successful changes. Whether the change was lowering cholesterol, lowering glucose, getting off diabetes medicine, lowering blood pressure, getting off their blood pressure medicines, or just lowering weight and cutting back on inches, or beating cancer, those are all summits and successes. Those are all my warriors. And I was about to embark on the next, I think I'm up to my 7th summit board. I have them all in my garage now, but there's too many of them. So my warriors know that I can make it happen. And whether it's my training, whether it's just me and my heart, I don't know. It doesn't, who cares? But if you want to see me, and you can't see me here with, because I am still a physician, but I'm out of network. Sorry, I don't want to sign up. I've opted out of Medicare. I don't want to sign up with any insurance companies because as soon as I sign and say I'm independent, I'm solo. Can you Blue Cross Blue Shield? Can you give me a good deal if I see your patients? And they'll say, yeah, 50 cents on the dollar. It's like, oh, I mean, just to pay for malpractice, I have to put up $35,000 to $40,000. I'm still arbitrating that before I even see patients, and it's an uphill battle. I do believe that there's an investment. I will do it because I know I can help people, whether it's here and you see me as a doctor. And by the way, so I am still allowed to see people virtually, and as it gets colder out and when COVID kind of fizzles out in probably summer of 2021, I would still say try to keep your visits virtual. The history is the biggest part of the visit. Certainly it's nice to see tonsils every once in a while or feel a thyroid, but for the most part, the 80% of the diagnosis comes from the history, and you can get that online. So check out my website, Herbal411, and you'll find out how to get to me. I'm out of network. I'm still a physician. You can still see me, but check out your out-of-network benefits. And if they're good, make an appointment. Get on herbal411.com, follow the links for lifestyle coach, and make an appointment to see me or continue with me, and I'll still continue protecting you as best as I can. If you don't have any out-of-network benefits, see me at the Endorphin Effect Training Center and apply your HSA or FSA, and I'll get you to lose the weight. If we don't lose the weight this year, it'll come off eventually, but again, that's a weight loss program, so it should be covered. Whether you need a signature from your primary care doctor or not, I am not sure, but I think there's ways to present that to your accountant come April and argue with your doctor. I have a form also on my website. I have a form that states that it's a medical necessity, exactly what I do in the weight loss clinic over at the Endorphin Effect Training Center. So it's very self-explanatory. I think I might have put too much verbiage. I can cut it down to say, this is medically necessary and I will help your patient lose weight. Maybe that'll be all they need, but I want you guys to be empowered, and I want other doctors to know exactly what I'm doing with their patients to get them successfully better. But maybe the other doctors don't want you better because if you're better, they won't see you, and if they don't see you, they don't make any money. Something to keep in mind. So let's go over, hopefully that gives you a little bit of a framework on where I am. And let's go over to the Endorphin Effect Training Center so I can show you my other office. This is the Endorphin Effect Training Center. This is my office at the training center. So here I help people change lives. But I'll also have several different coaches all under the same roof at the Endorphin Effect Training Center to teach you mindful practice, to teach you yoga, to teach you a cardiovascular endurance, to teach you martial arts, to teach you calming practice, to teach you weight training, resistance training, to teach you how to hike to 14,000 feet elevation. So all these things are for you to take advantage of. We're not just a regular training center, and I'm not just a regular doctor, but I have to boast a little bit because I think I have better outcomes than my average colleague, and I think the training center has better outcomes than your average gym. So don't just go to a gym to lose weight because it's January 1st and you gained weight last year. Do it because you want to reverse your disease process. And if you're not sure how to do that, come to me. That's why I want to do this for you. So hopefully this gives you a couple of ideas of how you can access my knowledge base. I don't mean to sound boastful, but I spent the extra buck to train because I thought it would help my mom and my patients. But I think I have a different way to see things that I'm comfortable with that my colleagues don't see. So there's a few other doctors that do functional medicine. That's also different than the standard, but I'm far more than that. Nothing against my functional medicine doctors, but I spent 2 to 4 years, 2 years of integrated medicine fellowship training, 1 year of acupuncture, 1 year of sports medicine. So I've invested in all that. It was initially for my own benefit, but now I can have everybody else take advantage of that. So I have to say, come to me and I'll do the best I can for you. Come to the Endorphin Effect Training Center and we as a team will make you successful. I promise you that if you give me a chance, whether it's at the Endorphin Effect Training Center or my office in Hoffman Estates, I think we have the talent. I know we have the commitment. And if you just give us a chance, then I think you'll be happy and you won't be disappointed. You know what? I just thought about something. As I was coming home from the office and the training center, I appreciate my patients and my clients, but more day to day, more hour to hour, I appreciate my subscribers because, this YouTube channel started because I was trying to save time in the office with common questions. I put the answers on my videos and my patients appreciated that, and it shortened the time frame of me being in the office or me being in the visit. But I found that other people, not my patients, but other people from other parts of the state, other states, and now other parts of the world are getting benefit too. So that is so cool. So I got to tell you, whether you're my patient, my client, or my subscriber, I am so blessed that I am in it to help you. I'll do my best to do that. But from the bottom of my heart, I honestly say thank you very much for trusting in me. And I'm going to do everything I can in my power to make life better for all of us. So thank you for your trust. Thank you for your devotion. And let's get started and kick some ass. Thanks.